So, after school and stuff, how did you find like your job that you have now? Like, did you start off somewhere small and get bigger?
No, I worked from the time I came to this country. I started working when I was 14 years old. I was at a paper bag at 3 o'clock in the morning, 7 days a week. And because I started there, I remained in the newspaper industry for many years. And I went up, I was in administration in the newspapers. I did, I was a director level executive in a newspaper in Miami. And going to school at night, I always went to school at night. And because I needed to work. And then one day I realized that newspapers were not the thing of the future, and that happened many, many years ago, but I think history has proven me correct, because newspapers are getting smaller and smaller and smaller every year, and they're getting lousier every year. So I knew I had to change careers, so I went to the University of Florida to get my master's. I graduated from the University of Florida with my master's. The lowest offer, the less amount of money that was offered to me was from Arthur Andersen. And that was a consulting firm, which is where I met your mother. Your mother and I both worked in Arthur Andersen and worked on a project together. She was really, really young. I was already a little bit older. And I became a consultant for Arthur Andersen, and I worked with them for 4 years. And then 4 years later, I left and I started my own company that was a small version of Arthur Andersen, and that's when your mother, Sandy, came and became a partner with us, and she was my partner for many years, and we grew that company until we sold it 7 years later, and we've done many, many other jobs since then, but after that, it's always been more like starting companies, putting money into companies, working to get them bigger, getting them to a point, and then selling them. And I have owned consulting firms in technology. I own a couple of hotels. I've sold a hotel. I used to own a bank. We had a plastics company. We wrote a book. And in all these things, Wendell, and you don't know this because your mother doesn't tell you, but in all these ventures, your mother's always been my partner, my business partner.
Oh. So, can you tell me about that book you wrote?
Well, the book is titled "Business is a Contact Sport," and the premise behind the book is that the most important asset, you know what an asset is something of value, that an individual or a corporation or any organization has is relationships. And it's, people think, the relationships are the relationships with the consumer, the customer, or no, it's not just the customer. It's the relationships you own with banks, with your competitors, with your suppliers, with your employees, with anyone who can affect the success of your business or the success of yourself as a person. So we wrote the book interestingly enough, the book came out, it was published September 11, 2001. And we all know what happened that day. The press was in my house, the Spanish press, because of me being of Spanish descent, was in my house in the morning doing an interview for the launching of the book when the planes hit the towers. And it was very, very difficult to push the book forth after that for a little bit, because our first stop the next day was supposed to be New York City. And of course, all the flights were canceled all over the United States. But we pushed through, and the book became a bestseller in the New York Times list. And it's been adopted in a few universities. And, as I mentioned to you a while ago, it even got us a bunch of interviews, a bunch of speaking engagements. And I was bragging to you that I charged $10,000 an hour. And I did that twice. It's true. It was interesting to, how guilty you feel when you walk away with a $10,000 check after speaking to some people for 1 hour about something that to you is second nature.
That's awesome. Alright, so do you think being Cuban has affected the way people treated you in America?
I gotta tell you, when people hear about America from other countries, you always think that once you get here, you're gonna be discriminated against, or you're gonna be treated different.
Alright, stop for a second.